Okay, good morning, everybody.
Hold on, you gotta let her get organized like that. Bye.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Battle Mountain Board of Commissioners meeting on July 4th, 2022. Lander County Commissioners meeting, Town Board, Battle Mountain and Austin Board of Highway Commissions, Lander County Courthouse, Commission Chambers, 50 State Route 305, Battle Mountain, Nevada. Also via teleconference at Austin Chamber of Commerce Office, 122 Main Street, Austin, Nevada. Via audio conferencing by GoToMeeting. Call-in details 1-866-899-4679. Access code 849-277-573. Okay, we'll call it to order and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you lead us, Kathy?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll have a moment of silence. Okay, Lander County Commissioners may break for lunch from 12 p.m. to 1:15 p.m. Any agenda item may be taken out of order or may be combined for consideration by the public body, and the item may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Okay, Commission reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended.
No report, thank you.
I don't have any report either.
No report.
Okay. I went to the public lands meeting the other night, and there wasn't really anything really new on there, so I don't have much to report. Okay.
Hold on one second. Yeah,
Jared, will you ask Austin if they can hear you?
Austin, can you hear us?
Yes.
She say yes?
Public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Staff reports.
What's that?
We have staff reports first.
Oh. Just a second. Do we have any staff reports? That's Bert, right?
One second, Commissioner. I think we're having troubles with our call-in audio.
Do you want to try to hang up and?
Yeah, will you hang up the conference? And then pick it up. Okay. Try and talk.
Austin, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
She can hear you, but the people on here can't hear you. Will you hit your mic button?
Yeah, testing, 1, 2, 3.
So you're just gonna have to go forward. They got it on their side.
Okay.
That's better.
Yeah, so we did have a couple meetings. We attended pool pack training on, or PERS, I should say, not pool pack training, and that is the only thing I have to report on. We learned a little bit about the change in the PERS system and what they're augmenting that over to. It affects more of HR and our physical officers' offices than it does mine, but there are some changes coming down from PERS. So that's all I have to report on. Everything else on the agenda.
Okay. Are you ready? Okay.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
Amy Nelson, for the record. I sit on the Conservation District, and so I represent the commissioners, and so I'm supposed to come and give you guys updates occasionally. So,
Well, Amy,
Oh.
excuse me. Joe, this is public comment that for non-agendized items.
Okay,
yeah,
You need to say that for the record.
okay, this is a public comment for non-agenda.
If you could read that paragraph.
Consent,
there you
for non-agendized items only, persons are invited to submit comments in writing and/or attend, make comments on any non-agenda item at the board meeting. If any of the discussion and of the comments at the discretion of the board, all public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person. Again, at the discretion of the board, reasonable restrictions may be placed on public comment based upon time, place, and manner, and the public comment based upon viewpoint may not be restricted.
okay, good morning. So,
Morning.
do I have to repeat what I said?
No.
Okay, I'm good.
I apologize.
Oh, no problem. Okay, so I've gone to a couple of meetings, it's been really fascinating. My learning curve is very steep. I don't understand about 80% of what they're even talking about and all the acronyms and the different things, but I appreciate, because I spent 30 years in education, and people who come into the education world feel the same way, trying to pick up on everything. The good news is we did have we had an amazing breakthrough. Paul Tamara has been working and trying to work with the Forest Service and the BLM to get the surplus fire trucks out to the ranches. Well, Rick Harless and Ron Unger stepped up, and they had some county surplus, because it turns out there are no surplus out there. We got a hold of the Forest Service. They said you're at least 3 years out to get any surplus light engines to put out on these ranches. So I'll give you a brief background. The BLM presented and the NDF presented at one of our meetings, and they said they're 30% staffed this year. So they do not even have enough personnel for fire to respond to anything outside of our region. The hard part is every other BLM and NDF is in the same boat. So typically, if we had a lot of fires here, the other regions would send over support. They really aren't going to be able to do a lot of that this year. And then secondly, the southern part of the district, which is the Austin and the Toyabe area, they typically have an engine. They do not. The closest engine's in Eureka County. So there are just a lot of potentials here for us to have an extreme fire problem without resources to come. So Ron and Rick, I'm going to kind of turn it over to him because it's really been their baby. They've been working on this for a while, and they were able to connect with Paul Tamara, Sean Merluch, and Monty Price and set up a program. So it's all yours.
Thank you, Ron Unger, for the record. What we've done is we do have not so much surplus, but we got a couple mini pumpers, and they're the last trucks out. So what we've done is we've stationed one of them at Monty Price's house. He's got it in his shop there. He responds to fires from that area, the Eisenhood area. We've trained him up on that truck. He's got people trained with him. We've already used that truck day before yesterday and Monty. We've got one that's going.
Muted.
What are you
Go
doing, Liz?
without this one today.
Anyway, we've got another truck. It's an '86 Chevy. It was a first brush truck we had bought here in Lander County. That one's going today to Sean Merluch. It's down at Point S at this point, getting checked out. Sean Merluch has been trained up on it. I trained him up on it yesterday, so we'll have that truck at the Filippini Ranch. And then we have a third unit that BLM gave us. It's a slip-in unit that the Tamaras are going to put on the back of one of their dually pickups. And they're already trained up on our equipment anyway, so that one will be stationed out at the Tamara Ranch. So that's kind of what we've done. We will be looking for more for the southern end as it comes up, anything we can get down there. Even if we have to leave it at the old county building or whatever the case, if we can get people to man it, it'll be an extra brush truck, cause at this point, I think they just got one.
I do have a comment on that, thank you, and something that we need to look into. A while back, we had a problem with the Kingston Fire Department, and one of our folks that was the fire chief, do you remember that? Where they took the equipment and put it in their own yard? Well, he's passed on, and now she has that old truck that she wanted to give back to Kingston or have Kingston buy it or whatever was the situation. So I know that that truck is still there. So if you would check with perhaps Shannon in Kingston and get the information, Bert, Ron, if you can follow up on that.
Not a problem. Now that,
Great.
is that the green one that was an NDF truck to begin with?
No, it's a red one.
But what happened, Ron, was that when they had the volunteer fire department there, they received donations from outside sources, but they donated to him, and he put it in his name. So when he left the volunteer fire department, he took the equipment with him because it was donated to him, and that was his position, and he would not give it to Kingston.
No, I remember all of that.
Okay, well, now the truck is still available, so,
Okay.
One more.
But that truck is set since in that yard down there at his place by the airport, hasn't it, since he left?
in his yard, yes.
Yeah, I think so, we'll check on it, it may need some repairs or whatever, but that may give Kingston or that area another,
And they'd have to convey ownership over to
to Lander County.
County. Or at least to Kingston, one of the two.
Yeah, that's your deal.
Well, Kingston didn't want it back, and of course, they've got their new
Absolutely.
truck naturally, but for this, I mean, this is something
Perfect.
else, so.
Yeah.
Ron, how does it work, as far as, so we have one station that Monty's been trained on it, Sean's been trained on it. So are they serving like an extension to the volunteer fire department?
To a point, it would be like an auxiliary, it would be a branch off of us. We have trained those people, we've had them on the list for a couple of years now, Brian, to where, as you know, when we've had any fires north of town, Monty's always the first one there with his water trucks or whatever. So we trained him up on our equipment in case we were shorthanded. We could call him and say, we're coming out with a fire truck, jump in with us.
So my
This type of
question
deal.
is, if they're out responding to a fire and they get hurt, they're gonna be covered by the county?
Yes, I believe so, absolutely. And what we did on that, Keith Piazza lives out there too. So during the day or when he's home, he'll respond to Monty's, or Monty will pick him up near the Y, and those two will respond from there. Sean, the Tamaras, will do the exact same thing. They're a lot closer to a point to where we're gonna be there a little quicker than we are out north. But at least we're gonna have some units there with quick response, and these ranchers are familiar with fires, how to fight them. They have assisted us, we've assisted them for the last 30 years, so.
No, I think it's a great program.
You bet, and with the agreement that we have with the BLM at this point, the first 24 hours of any fire, we can utilize any type of equipment or personnel we need, which is their discs, their water tenders, whatever the case may be. So, yeah,
Big change.
and hopefully, you know, we've had 2 fires day before yesterday, they both turned out to be nothing at this point, but we rolled Monty out immediately, he was 30 minutes ahead of us. You know, so if that fire had have been up on the Rooster Comb, he could have had water on it before we even got there, so. It's gonna be a big benefit, and what we'll do, just so you guys know, in the wintertime, when the fire season's over, we'll bring these trucks back into town, we'll service them, drain them, we'll store them, and then they'll go right back out to the next fire season. So we don't have to worry about the rats getting in them and nothing being up to date when you need it. So that's our intentions at this point.
Thank you, Ron.
And thank you, Amy, for helping with that.
You bet. And then one other thing I just wanted to put out in front of you is because this was fascinating to me, and knowing, because even though my husband gets annoyed with it, I spent 10 years fighting fire for the BLM, and I know, because I was on the hill attack, the quicker you get there, obviously, and so that initial response is critical, and if you can get there in 5-10 minutes, the earliest anyone from BLM is gonna get there to most of these is 30 to 45, just realistically, because, you know, you gotta get off the road and then get up into the mountains. So I started looking up surplus engines, and there are some out there. So it's something for you guys to maybe think about as a county. I know Elko County's been working with the NDF for years, and they have them on almost all of their little ranch areas. And we are not quite as well stocked with engines. So if that's something you're interested in, I can start digging further, because even though there'd be transportation to get them here, they're actually relatively reasonable cost. You know, under 15,000 is the most expensive one.
Amy, on the conservation side of things, is there grant money available to where they could purchase something like that? Because it is all towards conservation, right?
Right, it sure is. I can look at that for sure, and then I thought the county might consider it, because it's a good thing for our county. And then, you know, because I was looking at Paul Tamara's, you know, the slip-on deal, it's not gonna get them very far if there is a fire and there is wind, you know, it just maybe a little bit
I
more
just know
water.
there was some federal money that was
I'll
put
definitely
down. Exactly,
ask at our
that's
next
why I'm
meeting.
curious if any of that could be spent on something like that, so.
Yeah.
Funny when you say if there was wind. You mean if there
When,
wasn't wind?
when we
Wind.
have,
When we don't have
and we
wind.
know how dry it is, I mean, this is the perfect storm for fires this year, with the dry and the heat and the drought conditions, and then 30% staffing for fire crews. It's not good.
Just to give you an idea, the reason why we put these trucks where we did, not only they're good locations, but every single position, or one of them, Monty Price has a 4,000 gallon water tank to follow this truck. The Tamaras have two 4,000 gallon tenders. One of them is a 6x6, so it's better than the fire truck. And Sean Mariluch has the same thing. So we've adapted, or we're in the process of adapting those water tenders that they have to the trucks. So, like Amy was saying, these trucks all got 250 to 300 gallon water tanks on them. We've got small nozzles because it's all cheatgrass, so you don't need a lot of water. But hopefully, by the time if we're out on another fire and we gotta pull our resources to go to this one, they've got a tanker truck to keep them watered up until we get there. So that was another reason for that, so, but they are small trucks. I mean, they're 1 tons with 300 gallons of water on board, where our truck's got 1,750, so. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Ryan, will you bring up that phone, please?
What's that?
Bring up that phone.
Commission, could we skip maybe to item number 2? I know that, that our judge has some things that need to get done, and then after that, if we could take a break to get this meeting back up and online, so we're compliant.
We're technically out of compliance right now because no one can hear us.
Okay, we're in public comment.
We have any more public?
Yeah.
Mr. Lenny.
My name's Lenny Shepherd, and I just thought I would give some kudos to the county for everybody responsible helping put up that sign, and for not having crickets here the 4th of July. So, I appreciate all the, JR did a lot of work by himself, but the county's controlled a lot of crickets. I mean, killed millions of them. Cause I went with him a couple times, but, see, not everything's rosy, no. Anyway, and I'd like to thank him for saving the taxpayers $20 million for not building that flood dike. That's, whether people realize that or not, that's been a thorn in my side for about 35 years, trying to build this flood dike because of flood insurance, and they know they can't get rid of the flood insurance. It's not gonna go away. You still gotta pay it. I don't care if you built the Great Wall of China. But what needs to be done is all the commissioners and Bert and everybody's together on this thinking. And if you wait 10 years, there might be all new faces here and it'll start all over again. So I wish the county would go on the second phase of that and clean the ditch from Martin Ranch Road clear to Muleshoe and have a maintenance program every couple of years. You go in there, knock the brush out, and clean the weeds out, and you're done with it. And then if it get white caps on I-80, we all better leave. You know, but anyway, that's just my thoughts.
Thanks, Lenny.
Thank you.
Do we have any more public comment?
Morning, Denise.
Hi, good morning.
We may need to approve the agenda
First.
and then,
Agenda, but with the modification.
Okay, so a consent agenda, yeah.
Okay. Consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by Board of County Commissioners with one action without extensive discussion. Any board member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda discussion and act upon separately during this meeting. Consent agenda materials are available at the Lander County Clerk's office for viewings, and copies are available for a nominal charge.
I make a motion that we approve number 2, May 12th meeting minutes, number 3, May 26th meeting minutes, and number 7, the payroll change request.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All approve?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, on number 1, which is the agenda notice, we do need to amend that, and what are we amending it to, Counselor?
Fiscal officer will tell us.
Oh,
Lakin Sullivan
what are we
for the
amending
record.
this to, Lakin?
So item 7, it should only be $29,296.14.
That was one of my questions.
I doubled that amount on accident, so I apologize for that.
Denise,
Did you guys get the total?
you don't have.
29,000 what?
$296.14.
You have, will not exceed $5,000, this could be more than that. So let's amend that.
Okay.
It's about 1,000 more.
Okay, so up to 6,000, okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Ted, are we pulling one of them too on the agenda?
We're gonna modify,
We're gonna modify mine.
we're gonna pull 3 things, but we're gonna modify hers first, because hers will not exceed $5,000, but with PERS and stuff, it's another 1,000, so we wanna amend that to $6,000.
Okay, so we're amending hers to 6. And then you're pulling which ones?
Yeah, you need to open the item because we need to open the item.
Well, it hasn't, oh,
It's gonna be different, even with the 6.
So the only thing we need to amend is what we've just amended with Lakin, correct? To
Yes.
approve the agenda notice, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
I'll
but
make a motion.
he wants to pull a couple too.
we can table them when we
We'll
get
just
them.
table it until we get to them.
yeah, we can table.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion that we approve the July 14th, 2022 amended agenda notice.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All approve?
Aye.
Aye.
So number 2.
Number 2, Agenda Justice Court for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove, creating a portion of the court administrators with funding in the amount not to exceed $5,000.
So we need to make that 6,000?
6, well, it's gonna be based off of what you increase, because these are additional duties, correct?
Correct.
So it's gonna be based off of what you're going to bump her for additional duties. That's how we are gonna figure the amount.
Okay. So Denise Fortune, for the record, I don't know exactly what the amount's gonna be when it comes to payroll, insurance, anything like that. I leave that in the capable hands of HR and payroll. I'm here today because Justice Court used to have a court administrator, it was me. I continue to do all those duties for the last 3.5 years, but with all the law changes and everything that's happening, I just don't have the time or the inclination to run an office and be a judge. There's just too much on my plate. I am one of the few judges, I think there's 2 of us in the whole state, that do not have a court administrator. And so I would like to amend that. I had taken away that position when I became judge, because I didn't think I needed a court administrator. We previously had this position, I took it away, just asking for it to be brought back. Not asking for a new position. I am taking my criminal clerk and just moving her up to the court administrator position. That has already been done within the office. She's gonna take on all these extra duties and responsibilities. I think she should get the pay to go with it. I did not have that budgeted in my budget because I was not planning on doing that. But the new law went in effect July 1st. I've now worked every Sunday since then. We have a lot of changes coming in January. Also, I need a court administrator. So
I just wanna clarify, it's not a new position, it's just additional duties. She's still going to continue to be your criminal clerk. You're just giving her admin additional duties.
Yes.
It's not a position, so it's just
We're
additional.
not creating a position.
Yes.
And this is all within your budget, the money that you're.
no, it's not. That's why I had to come here. I could have just done that internally, but because I did not put it in my budget because I wasn't planning on doing this, otherwise I would
So
have.
this is an addition to your budget, you're not just moving money around in your budget?
Well, no, that's what I would, exactly
You
what
want-
I'd like to do. I'm not asking for the money.
We can't move money around in the salary budget, cause it's not in there to move around, and you can't take money from your actual operating and move it into salary. You cannot combine those, they're completely separate. So what she needs is the actual additional duties position approved, and she needs the funding approved.
Okay, so how long is the funding for? Is it for the whole budget year?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. It would be for the rest of this year, and then when I go to do my budget next year,
Right.
I mean, I'm assuming I will continue to have her do the
well,
court
I didn't know
administrator
if it was to the end
duties.
of December or if it was the whole
Oh,
budget
no,
year.
this is the fiscal,
budget
the
year.
fiscal year, but again, I don't figure that out. I let HR and payroll figure that out. I just kinda
So
estimated.
my suggestion would be if you guys do approve this additional duties position, that you approve it saying you're approving the position with whatever amount it is determined by fiscal officer and me, because we're not gonna know until she gives us a number to be able
Well, I
to
don't wanna give
figure
an
out
approval
benefits.
unless I know what a number is, you know?
Well, what I'm asking for is $2 more an hour.
Okay.
That's what I'm
That's
asking
what we
for.
needed- that's
Oh, I'm
what we
sorry.
needed to know.
Okay, I'm asking for $2 more an hour. That's what I'm asking for.
Okay, so my understanding is that you think it's going to come to 5,000 for the full year, plus the benefits,
Correct, and it's gonna,
right?
yes.
And we're not sure about the benefits, but
Yeah.
would that make a difference?
I did the
Brian?
math. So I did the math for $2 more an hour, cause I believed that's what Denise was gonna do, and it was 5,900, so I would ask that you approve 6,000.
Okay, that's what we amended the budget,
Yes, that's what
The
Mr.
agenda
Herrera
too.
had stated, yes.
And then, Liz, to clarify, so are we having to fund it more, or is it's within her budget?
no.
We need to
Is it
fund
funded?
another $6,000 to her salary.
Now,
budget.
since we're already into the new budget year, where's that money going to come from?
We'll figure that out.
So this isn't the first time that you guys have added something into the budget in the middle of a budget year. Denise, we look at their budget as an overall, so as long as her bottom line doesn't go over, then she'll be fine.
Okay.
So there's other line items in personnel that are never used, so those can kind of offset the cost.
Gotcha, cool. And then what was the new law that became effective July 1st?
We now, for the last 26 years that I've been at the court, we do work on the weekends and holidays, but we do it by phone, and I think I've had this conversation with you guys. Sitting in my armchair in my pajamas on Sundays, now we physically have to come in 365 days out of the year. We have, the law used to exclude holidays and weekends. The law now includes holiday and weekends.
So you have to have a staff.
And we can vouch for that because we have to work Sundays as
Yes,
well.
and so does my DA and so does my public defender, and so far we've been here every Sunday.
For what purpose? I don't understand. You're not.
Bell hearings.
Bail hearings,
Bail hearings.
if somebody's in custody,
Gotcha.
they have to be,
Somebody has to be available.
brought over and actually seen and handled on, well, 365 days out of the year.
Within 48 hours of their arrest. they
Yep,
have to
and that's it, we don't know what days, you know, people get arrested, so that's the new law, and then we have a new one coming in January, on the traffic side that's gonna be a little crazy too,
Crazy, yeah.
so.
Alright.
All right, I'll make the motion that we approve the additional duties for the court administrator, not to exceed $5,900.
I would just say 6,000.
6,000, not to exceed 6,000.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Can we
Thank
take
you.
a break so I can go and start this meeting?
Just fix that system.
We need to take a break.
JR, we need to take a break because we're not in compliance.
Okay, we'll get back to business. The go to meetings is down right now. We're having technical difficulties, so we'll work off of. Anyway, we'll go back to number one. For discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the payment of bills. And we need to pull check number 216000 and number 215936 and 216163.
I make a motion, we approve the balance of the bills.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
I'll make the motion, we approve check number 216000, 215936.
215936.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain, they're made to my employer.
Okay, move on to number three.
We need to make a motion. Do you have the check numbers for Patsy?
No, I don't.
What was the check number?
216163.
I'll make a motion that we approve check number 216163.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I recuse myself for travel, thank you.
Commissioner, is there any way that we can, move number 12 up? We have a lady that travels a long ways and has to get back for a plane flight. I do apologize. I should have done a better job of putting it in order on the agenda to fit that, but we didn't know that until after we posted the agenda.
Okay, we're gonna move go to number 12 and do it real quick. Commissioners, for discussion, possible action to approve, disapprove, enabling the Commercial Property Access Clean Energy Program, C-Space, in Lander County to facilitate the access to capital by Pure Growers LLC for the completion of their cannabis grow facility in Battle Mountain, Nevada. Okay.
And for the record, our district attorney did step out because he has a potential conflict of interest. So he is not here for any advice.
Just the courtroom?
Morning.
Good morning. I'm Teresa Smith with EB Management Group, for the record. I presented remotely to the commissioners at the last meeting. I apologize for not being able to attend. I also apologize for Delta reshifting my flight, making it impossible for me to fly into Elko on this trip. I appreciate you adjusting the schedule to allow me to possibly catch my flight home tonight if I can get back to Salt Lake. I'm really here to support and answer any questions that you might have from the last presentation, and to answer any questions, new questions based on the review of the legal. My background is 10 years in PACE financing. I used to work for the Toledo-Lucas County Port Authority and served as their energy program manager, and have extensive experience in managing programs for PACE, setting up programs for PACE, and funding projects under PACE. I've been involved in more than 100 PACE-funded projects, and we are supporting Pure Growers in their effort to secure the financing. We've actually lined up their PACE financing for them and are partnering with them if the Lander County sets up the energy district. I don't have any other formal presentation, but I'm just here to support and answer questions that you might have at this point.
Well, we had asked for some legal guidance on it, and I see that we got a letter from Brian Hardy on it, and basically, he's stating from his, looking into it, that everything seems to be, to where we don't have a lot of liability as Lander County. I still have some questions, one of them being, it's just the relationship, how, from what I see from reading over, it's like if we approve this, we're gonna be creating a lot of work for Lander County, and how do we staff that? If that's our choice, or we turn it over to a third-party administrator, but by doing so, then we relinquish some of that control that we were concerned about. And then the other being is just, I still don't understand, well, I do understand, it's, government, they're using Lander County to somewhat secure the finances that this private institution is lending these businesses, right? So in a normal relationship, it's between these two parties, but now Lander County is coming in, and we're becoming almost like an assurity through the tax lien process to protect that big money lender, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe just a little correction,
Okay.
if I can.
Yeah.
So to the first point, if you choose to engage a third-party administrator, they are your representative and you ultimately have final say. So they're not taking any authority from you, they're working on your behalf. And you don't pay them, they get paid by the financing that's included in the project. So, and the only way they get paid is if a project happens. And if a project happens, then their fee for services is included in the cost of that financing. So in this case, Pure Growers will be paying for the services of SRS for the county. Any project that would come forward would come with a recommendation in the future from your administrator. So the administrator is responsible for verifying that everything meets the statute of the law. So they're going to review the project, they're going to ensure that it's meeting the energy savings requirement, that it's meeting everything that the legislation has designed it to do. They would come forward to the commissioners with a recommendation, and they would say, yes, this meets the requirement, we recommend that you do it.
Okay.
If it doesn't meet the requirements, they're not going to even bring it forward to you. They'll reject it, because if it doesn't meet the requirements, there's no sense taking up the commissioner's time. Ultimately, what would come forward to you are projects that they deem meet the technical requirements. You as the commissioners have the ultimate say to say yes or no. The only obligation for the county is the filing of the record onto the property record. So that's the additional work. The county can charge a fee to cover the cost of whatever it takes for your clerk to file that document. The administrator produces for you all of the necessary documents, so there's not a legislative document process requirement for you. The state of Nevada recently revised their PACE program document, so it's templated. So Henderson just approved the most recent version in April of this year, so it's a very current document set that can be utilized and implemented if Lander County goes forward. The next question was the obligation or the surety.
Well, yeah, just, it's like the whole, exactly, it's like you have the money lender, you have the business owner. From what I see and just looking into this, it's like it's almost they're working with the county to because it becomes somewhat of a surety to that money lender, right? Through tax liens. I mean, if our business owner defaulted, how would that process go down?
Okay, I can explain that. So the formal legal agreement for the financing is between the borrower and the funder, just like a private mortgage, okay? The difference is, in a private mortgage situation with a bank or any other lender, that deal is securitized by a first mortgage on the property. In this case, what's happening is they are utilizing the filing of the special assessment on the record as their collateral because they're not doing a mortgage. The whole impetus behind this is to create a different financing mechanism than conventional debt. The worst case scenario, so if a property goes default, which, by the way, there are 0 PACE defaults on record since the program started. So if this happens, the project goes in default, the lender would do a standard foreclosure process. So it would be a similar foreclosure process as if a conventional debt. They are going to take possession of the property, they are going to work to resell it. The only thing that comes due to that lender is the current year assessment obligation. It's a straight line amortization, so the payment is the same over whatever the term of the loan for the assessment is. So the only thing that comes due is what's due. The lender cures that by selling the building. The county doesn't have an obligation to take back that building, collect the taxes, and even in the statute, it's written so specifically to say that the county has no obligation financially for any of the assessment debt, any of the assessment payments, any of the fees, nothing that accrues. So it specifically excludes the county from any financial obligation. It really is a mechanism to utilize the special assessment security tool to help private lenders bring capital to your community. And that's really what it does. It does not put the county in a financial liability obligation situation. In a worst case scenario, you have a building that's been improved, you have a building that is more efficient from an energy standpoint and is more marketable on the market. And then you have a lender who is only in it for 25%. At the maximum that they'll lend is a 25% loan to value. So there's a big value of that property. They can sell it at a discount, get their money back, or they can leave that debt out there for the new buyer. So you can even make the property more attractive by selling it for low to a next owner and passing the energy savings on and leaving that debt there for the balance of the term. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps a lot, thank you.
I have a couple questions. The first one is, how long has it been since PACE has been created? When did this?
It was established in 2007. It was established at a federal level in 2007.
Okay.
And the way the program is set up, each state individually passes the legislation to enable.
Yeah, and we just passed ours.
Yeah, you just passed yours a few years ago, so it's really recent for Nevada. Ohio and Michigan and Minnesota, I was from Ohio, that's my point of reference originally. They've been active since 2008.
Okay, so if we pass this, what other kinds of businesses would be interested in this?
Yeah.
Just cannabis? Or?
No, actually it was not designed for cannabis, it just became a nice resource for cannabis. It is designed for all commercial buildings.
Okay.
The typical buildings that have been used, businesses that have been using this in the past, hospitality, hotels, large-scale multifamily. You can use it for anything over 5 units. I've done everything from restaurants to hospitals to surgical centers to industrial manufacturing. It can be used for new construction. It can also be used for your existing buildings. So if you have like an industrial park and they have commercial businesses that need to upgrade and put new HVAC systems in and new lighting, new insulation, roofs is a big thing that we finance. Anything that saves energy can be financed. And so it really is a tool to attract new business, but it's also a tool that can help retain existing businesses because it brings them capital that is a long-term fixed rate product. It's tied to the property as an assessment and it's transferable. So if in the future they want to sell that property, then that balance just transfers to the new ownership and it automatically transfers. So it's very attractive to business. And I've set these up in many rural communities because it's a very attractive resource that doesn't cost the county anything. I mean, that's really what it is you're utilizing your securitization system to attract new capital to your market.
Thank you. The other question I had was on the third-party administrator. Are you one of those?
I am not. So the one that we've been working with for the state of Nevada is called SRS. They stands for Sustainable Real Estate Solutions. They're a private third-party company. They are the current administrator for the other programs in Nevada. They are also the identified administrator for Utah and Colorado, the entire state.
Do we have any other choices?
Other
than doing it ourselves, of course.
You could explore other resources. They're the only one, Usually there's one for the state. So the state of
Okay.
Michigan has one.
Okay.
State of Texas has two. But generally, when you find one that has the knowledge and the skill set and the capacity to do it, it pretty much becomes commonplace for the state. They're very highly recommended and very reputable. I have worked with Brian, who is the CEO, Brian McCarter, on the establishment of this district, and his knowledge base is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal as it relates to your state and the legislation and what it takes to do this.
And who would help us set that up? Would that be you?
He would. I'm a lifelong partner because this is what I know how to do. So we work on the financing side, but part of our mission is to expand PACE across the United States.
Okay,
And
so if we
plan-
pass this today,
Yes.
what's the next move? What happens?
Perfect. The next step is we have draft SRS. If you choose to go with them, they'll provide all of the documents that you need. They've already been provided to your team a couple weeks ago, so they have those in hand. The next step would be to modify the resolution, which to change it from saying Henderson to say it Lander County. It's a plug and play in the documents, and then approve it. Hopefully at the resolution at your next board meeting. That would establish the district, and then that would allow our customer to move forward with the development of their project and the closing on their financing. Because their financing is contingent upon you establishing the district. If you don't establish the district, they can't do their project.
So my question is, in the case that it doesn't sell, if they loan call, it doesn't sell, are we responsible for the taxes if it's sitting out there lingering?
No, the taxes do not accelerate, and the legislation and the way it's written in the resolution explicitly excludes the county from any financial obligation. The loan agreement between the client and the lender also acknowledge that at no point will the county be obligated for any of the assessment obligations, any of the payments, any of the fees, or any of the other associated costs. So it totally exonerates the county from any financial obligation.
And so, and I'm sure you're aware of this, when this went in front of the legislature for the passing for the marijuana grows, Lander County voted 61% against grows, the growing. So that people forget that, so I want to make sure that I throw that back out there, that this county, for that type of business, was 61% against. And so, those were our constituents that spoke.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that people are reminded of that.
You know, Commissioner, I understand that, and you're absolutely right, because many of us were against all that. But the point is, it's here, and now to actually enhance the clean energy program, which is the whole point with the financing and all, it is.
That doesn't make any difference.
It is a future.
It is a future, but keep in mind what your constituents voted for and against, and that's something that they didn't want. I mean, there's enough for you to do
Yeah, but
whatever you want,
we're not voting
Well,
on
that's
whether
fine. Well, I know, but
whether
that's
we
what
wanted this business or not.
In response to that, Kathy, I see what you're saying, but I think the business owner is going to go forward with the project regardless of what we do, and this program is not specifically for the marijuana growers, it's for any business. And if it's a tool, like Brian Hardy said, he said it is a tool that can basically allow business owners to leverage money.
Which I still struggle with, why if it should be between the lender, and the borrower.
No,
why
I know,
there's
I still struggle with, I struggle with that as well
I can
myself,
clarify
so.
that if I can speak to that specific issue. The financial binding document is between the lender and the client. Because they're utilizing the assessment tool, the only way they can securitize their debt is through the special assessment process. And so the engagement of the municipality is you're basically allowing private investors access to a securitization tool. Because a special assessment is a securitization tool for debt. It's a repayment mechanism, it's a securitization debt. So what you're doing is, and the county has to do it because legally a private business cannot place an assessment. The only entity that's allowed to place the assessment is the municipality in where the project is located. And so the statute, the legislation itself is what forces the engagement of the municipality, because the mechanism to securitize it is the assessment. It's hand in hand. And so if the county doesn't support and provide access to that securitization, then the financing can't happen. And you're absolutely right, the client is gonna go forward with their project irrespective of this, but what this does is it provides capital so that they can be more efficient and ultimately be more successful.
25% leverage money.
25% leverage money at lower cost at a longer term. There's nobody in the market that lends for 25 years, unless you're doing a private mortgage for a house. And that's the benefit of it. The real benefit, honestly, beyond the conversation of pure grows, is for every business in your community that needs access to capital to improve their energy efficiency. The cost of energy is going to continue. It can also be used for water. I mean, that's something we haven't even talked about here, but you can apply it to wastewater treatment and different mechanisms that address water consumption issues in addition to energy consumption. So there's ways to expand it beyond just your HVAC systems, your lighting, your insulation. And it's been done in other states. Montana just did a really big water reclamation project under PACE. And it's a free access to capital for your market that would not normally exist. It can attract investment that might not come here, but for the access to capital. In a non-cannabis situation, like a hotel. So when a hotel does financing, they typically get about 60 to 65% from a lender. They have to raise 35% in equity, typically in a hotel model. What we can do is we can come in and bring 25% at 6% for 25 years. Now they don't have to raise as much personal capital. It can replace an equity requirement, and it can make development happen where it normally would not happen. And I think that's the strongest thing for a county to consider is, I come from a rural community, raised, born, bred, still live in a rural community. I know the challenges financially to bring economic development to your community. It's what I've done. I did it for 15 years for a national bank. It's my thing. So in speaking to that, anytime that I could attract a real capital to the market to support my economic development professionals, and it doesn't cost my community anything, to me that's an obvious decision. And I would just encourage you to think about it that way as a real tool. And you have partners in your community. Your state has done a great job of setting up the program. To have an SRS who can come in and administer it for you, you don't have to sign a lifelong contract with them. If you set it up, an SRS comes in and they get it going for you, and you think, well, heck, we can just do you have options to release that contract and do it yourself. But if you never engage, then you don't know if it's going to go or not.
I do appreciate you coming, especially in person, because it's so hard over the phone last time. It truly was. And I know you've addressed my main concerns, and I understand my commissioner's problems with this and her concerns, but that's only because that the pure growers are the ones that asked for the PACE program. But we wouldn't be putting this into effect and approving because of just them. They were the ones that happened to bring it forward. But I do see the future in it, and I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion.
Hold on, I'm not ready for it. Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions why we have this person here that maybe that the commission hasn't asked or people are thinking of? Because I'd like to, yeah.
Morning, Commissioners.
There's another one limping.
I have a little bum knee today, you have to excuse me a little slow. Aaron Martinez for the record. One question I had is, in the financing package, does the county have any ability to see what it is that's being financed? Because one question that I had is, different businesses may have different energy needs, and that business may have a very unique energy need. And I think one of the concerns is would that uniqueness of that infrastructure not be resellable to the next person? It may not be as beneficial to them. And so we kind of looked at that component as a negative attribute. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, there is always an energy audit that's conducted by a certified energy manager. In that audit, there is a clear delineation of what is being approved. There's a table, it's called the certified or energy conservation measures. In that table is a line item of all of the improvements. It'll say LED lights, it's gonna cost this much, it's gonna take this long to pay it back, and it's gonna save this much energy. They build that table out, that will be available to the county to review as part of the review process if you wanna see it. Additionally, typically in the resolution that comes forward for the assessment, there is an attachment that shows the improvements. And the administrator that you contract with, or if you do it yourself, is responsible to ensuring that those meet the statute of the law. The legislation very specifically identifies what can and cannot be included. They must be energy conservation measures. So the idea of funding things that are specifically unique to specific business is mitigated that way, because there must be an energy savings conservation measure demonstrated. There must be, it must align with the regulation of the law, and it must make financial sense for the investor who's doing it. So that's the way that we would mitigate that.
I see. Now, on a package or a proposal by proposal basis, does the county have the ability to comment on those packages prior to the funding being approved?
You can set your system up, your process and your program up however you'd like. So ultimately, the funding does not get approved and closed until it comes to these commissioners for the placement of the assessment. So the process is, like if a client comes to us, we secure the financing, we gather, they underwrite it just like a commercial loan. So you're not getting, they're looking at every business under a microscope like a commercial bank would do. They look at all of the financials, they look at the energy audit, they look at the appraisal. An appraisal is always required. That information then would go to we would get them approved. And we would have a term sheet that says, here, just like a bank, here's what you're gonna get approved for, here's what you're gonna pay back, here's the amortization schedule. You will know exactly what their payment will be. That information, once they sign the term sheet, then we would move forward with bringing it to the administrator for approval. Once the administrator approves it, they would bring it to the county. At any point in that process, you can set it up where before it goes to the administrator, after it goes to the administrator, you can be involved with your administrator to review it. If you wanted to have one staff member look at things, that you can set it up however you like. But absolutely, there is a schedule of payments. There is the terms delineated, and the improvements that are being approved are also delineated in every transaction.
And could you reiterate for the commission what other Nevada counties or cities are implementing this?
Yeah, Reno has it, Henderson has it, Las Vegas has it, and there's a fourth one that begins with an F.
Is it Nye County?
No.
White Pine?
Huh?
Fernley?
Fernley, I think it sounded. I think it was Fernley. But those four are the four that have established programs and have done projects in the state. The plan is to extend it across the entire state. I know they're working with other counties. The way it gets established is like this. You have a project that comes forward and makes a request. When the project comes forward and make a request, then it gets vetted out like this. So that's the process for growing it across. SRS is responsible for helping to grow it across the state, because that's how they make money, is to grow the program.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just such a new thing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like trying to think with it. I mean, because I've read through what our attorney, the homework we gave him, and like he doesn't see any harm in it. But again, it's still, I don't know if it's just the newness of it, that it doesn't set right with me in my belly, but it's just, I want to make sure we're making the right decision for Lander County, for our constituency. I agree with Patsy. I don't think it's about the medical marijuana industry. This is about, it's a tool, it's a financial leverage tool for businesses, that allows them to tap into it. Like I said, I understand what I'm being told, but
Yeah.
still it's like, I don't understand why it has to be that way, so,
Yeah,
obviously I'm very leery about it still.
yeah. I think,
But they did say we don't have any liability, and I think that's one of the
Well,
key
exactly,
things.
and that's what we're
So with
concerned about.
that, we need to think forward, and I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion and see what you would like to do. But I will approve the enabling of the commercial property assessed clean energy program in Lander County, and would recommend that we go with a third-party administrator and authorize our district attorney to do the resolution.
On that note, I mean, Aaron or Bert, I mean, could this be a tool for some of the stuff that we're looking at, you know, like sustainability that we're looking in Lander County, some of these other companies that we're working with, and I'm just wondering if this could be like a tool for them as well, you know?
Oh, I believe that Sheldon Mudd, with the NNRDA would probably put that out to as many people that wanna come here as possible, so they have another 25% they can work with.
And then, you also said that we would look at each project as a one-on-one basis, so if we approve this, there's nothing to say we'd have to approve any other, so in dealing with this, if there's something that, does arise that we don't necessarily like, then obviously,
Well, and to that, for clarification, so we approved this program, even though Dusty wants to do his thing, his thing would have to still come before us and be approved as a project,
Yep.
am I?
exactly, every single project that wants to get financed under this tool would have to come before you.
Right.
And then even, for instance, we had a project that in a community that did not align with their overall strategy. So there wasn't anything wrong with the project from a financing standpoint, but it was a big dairy and the people in the county didn't want, so the county had the authority to say, you know what, no, you're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
And that's the way the program is designed, to give you ultimate authority.
all we're doing is we are setting the stage for that financing for that business owner to tap
Exactly.
into that money.
Exactly.
That's all we're doing.
So,
Yes.
so I just wanna clarify, because the agenda, the way it is worded and move forward, and this is probably where we need legal, is it is directly related to, pure growers.
Right, for the completion of their cannabis, it's not necessarily.
So, yeah, in this motion, I'm not sure if this is also approving their project
No.
at the same time. I just wanna
No.
make sure that we have clarification, because the way the agenda item is worded, it doesn't make it as individual projects. Approving the CPACE program is one of a two-step process that's kinda lumped into one agenda item.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But I think there's more public comment.
I would just say we're not in a position to approve the pure growers, because that would actually be when we bring forward the resolution that the resolution that specifically details what their project is.
Okay, I just wanted
Yeah.
for clarification for Dusty and for the commission and everybody here, that that's what we're doing, that we aren't lumping this into one.
Yep.
And that's how the
Okay.
motion was made.
I
Okay.
was, yeah.
Yeah. Was there more questions?
No.
Okay. All right, well, I will second, your motion.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye?
Nay.
Aye.
Okay, 3 for it and 1 against it.
Yep. So we'll see where it goes.
And the fact that they come individually each time is what takes the knot out of my stomach.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you
I'll
for coming
commit to
and
helping. I'm just not showing up today. I'm committed to helping your staff and helping with the marketing and promotion and growth of this. So I appreciate your accommodations for my schedule today, and if any other questions come up, we'll
Thank you.
greatly appreciate it.
Do you have a card by chance?
I sure don't. What kind of business person travels without one? So women, I moved a small purse for travel and didn't bring my business cards, but I can make sure, Mr. Ramos has all of my contact information, and I can make sure that I share it.
I will forward that.
Thank you.
Teresa, very much appreciated.
Okay,
Number 3?
number 6.
3?
3. Number 3, commissioners for discussion and possible action to approve disapprove the appointment of one individual to serve the Lander County Board to manage wildlife, which currently has one opening. New terms are from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025. And Amber Ayton is.
Well, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we approve the appointment of Amber Ayton to serve on the Lander County Board to manage wildlife, which the term will run from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, number six, commissioners for discussion, possible action to approve, disapprove resolution 2022-06, placing an advisory question on the November 2022 general election ballot regarding the modification or repealing the discharge of a firearm in the unincorporated areas of Lander County between 1 hour after sunset and 1/2 hour before sunrise, and all other matters properly related thereto.
So, did you read over it, Kathy? Does,
Yes, I
you
did.
better with that?
Yes.
Do I ask for public comment?
Yeah, you can.
Is there any public comment on that? Ron, you got anything to say?
We're on number 4, right?
No, number six.
Number 6.
We tabled 4 and 5.
So we went directly number 6. That's what he was reading, because I kept trying to follow where the property related there too. Okay, well, on 6
Sorry.
then. All right, I'm okay with everything.
Okay.
So then it needs, does it need to be?
Does the resolution need to be read in?
Yes.
Yes. Is that what you're looking to me
Yes,
too?
I'm all looking at you.
I'm so.
You're willing.
Am I gonna be known as a resolution girl?
No, you're not going to be known.
Oh, I am known? All righty, gang. I make a motion that we approve the resolution of the Lander County Board of Commissioners to place the advisory questions on the ballot 2022, our general election ballot. The resolution number is 2022-06. Whereas NRS 295.230 authorizes the governing body of a county to place advisory questions on general election ballots, and whereas said advisory questions are non-binding and do not place any legal requirements on the governing body, any member of the governing body or any officer of the political subdivision pursuant to NRS 295.230, number 2. Now therefore be it resolved that the following advisory ballot question be placed on the November 8th, 2022 general election ballot for all of Lander County. The advisory ballot question: should Lander County Code 9.16.010 be modified or repealed to allow the discharge of a firearm in the unincorporated areas of Lander County between 1 hour after sunset and 1/2 hour before sunrise? Explanation and digest. Lander County Code 9.16.010 currently prohibits the discharge of a firearm of any kind in the unincorporated areas of Lander County between 1 hour after sunset and 1/2 hour before sunrise. Exceptions are listed in the Lander County Code 916.020, and they include any peace officer discharging a firearm in the performance of his duties, the discharge of a firearm in a shooting gallery or any designated pistol, shotgun, or rifle range, and the discharge of a firearm by any person in the necessary defense of himself, his family, or another person or property. In order to allow the discharge of a firearm at night for any other purpose than those currently set forth in Lander County Code 9.16.020, Chapter 9.16, of the Lander County Code would need to be modified or repealed. There is no anticipated financial effect on the local government. The result of the voting on this question does not place any legal requirement on the Lander County Board of Commissioners or any officer of Lander County. A yes vote. A yes vote advises the Lander County Board of Commissioners that the voter is in favor of modifying or repealing Lander County Code 9.16.010. No vote. A no vote advises the Lander County Board of Commissioners that the voter is against the change to Lander County Code 9.16.010. The argument for passage. Technology has advanced to the point that with advanced night optics and thermal imaging, it makes shooting at night safe. Using these technologies, the shooter can discern between a cow, coyote, or domestic animal. Coyotes are nocturnal animals, and by allowing night shooting, it enhances predator control. By allowing organized coyote tournaments at night, you can bring money into the county, providing sources of income to local business for food, snacks, fuel, and lodging. This is a citizens' rights issue, and legal gun owners should have the freedom to hunt at night in a safe, organized manner. The argument against passage. The ordinance was originally enacted for public safety purposes to protect the safety of humans, animals, and property. Ranchers, farmers, campers, and people using the public lands for recreational purposes have a real and valid concern that it is their property and personal safety that suffer the consequences of allowing night shooting. Their cattle, horses, domestic animals, and family members will be put at risk from people who have no regard for their property or well-being. Even though technology has advanced with night optics and thermal imaging, it is very costly. It should be understood that the rifle and any caliber used will exceed the sight or vision of any night optics or thermal imaging used. Advisory. The result of the voting on this question does not place any legal requirement on the Lander County Board of Commissioners or any officer of Lander County. Passed and adopted this 14th day of July 2022.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And it passes.
Thank you for reading that, Patrick.
Okay,
Number 7.
yeah. Number 7, fiscal officer for discussion possible action to approve, disapprove, write-off of patient's balance of uninsured, underinsured patients for fiscal year 21-22 in the amount not to exceed $58,592.28.
Lake and Sullivan for the record. So this was approved last year as well. I don't know if you guys remember that. And then I just wanted to clarify that we did correct the amount on the agenda. So it's just to write off the balances that we have for the uninsured or underinsured that we've billed once and they haven't paid, so.
So
You
on
know,
your, on the backup you gave us here, so a lot of the, so I see a lot of numbers, so like the write-offs per contracts, 40, 40, 80, 80, or is that $40, $80?
Yes.
Okay, and then Medicare denials, why would Medicare deny?
I have a question on this because we do the write-offs, but were most of these COVID-19?
So Brandy Bengoa for the record from Community Help. So a good portion of these, when we first started doing COVID testing, we were not charging for it. So we have to write that off on their balance.
Okay.
So that's for COVID testing. We have a few charges on there, like for test patients and someone who passed away. For Medicaid and 317 and VFCs, those are our vaccines that we get from the federal government. And when we give those, the vaccines are technically free, but we charge $20 to administer them. And you can only bill those people twice. So once you've billed them twice, and that's part of the whole agreement with the federal government. So once you've billed them twice, you have to write that off. So that's that portion. And then with Medicare, we're still not enrolled with Medicare, and we were still seeing Medicare patients, and we have a huge chunk to write off here, and we'll probably have another chunk to write off next year. But we're not seeing them anymore. Until we can get Medicare enrollment, we're just not gonna see those patients.
Are we
'Cause
working towards getting?
we are, there's just a lot of hiccups in the road for that, so.
So do we have a number on how much Medicare we're writing off?
So for last year, this is $7,691.68.
So in your spreadsheet, if you look at the top, it tells you what each column is. So like the first one's COVID testing.
But it doesn't total it till the last page.
Yes. But
Yeah.
so your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your fifth column is the Medicare denials.
Was this an increase from last year?
Yes.
Are we set up, are we able to, receive any type of insurance payments for anything that we're doing on the area?
So we just switched to a new electronic records and system, and they are really good about all of this. So we're enrolled with 20 other different insurance companies that we're receiving payments from, but Medicare is the big one that we just can't get enrolled with.
Okay, and so we're no longer.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the write-off of patient balances of uninsured, underinsured patients for fiscal year 21-22 in the amount not to exceed $29,296.14.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to number 8. Commissioners for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the job description of a full-time position for the Lander County Library Specialist.
So this is just to approve the position that you guys budgeted for earlier in the budget year, so we have a full-time librarian. This position will be here in Battle Mountain, but it'll oversee the Austin part-time librarian, and it will not take away the part-time that we have here currently.
And then we will, as soon as this person is hired, is that when the library will be open full-time again?
Yep. The library's never been open full-time.
No, it's only open.
So I was just,
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 11 to 5. Is that-
correct.
But even before that, it was never open
Oh,
full-time.
They didn't have it
No,
open
it was
full-time.
only 3 days a week.
Okay.
even
We've
with
actually
Elko
increased the hours from that, but we aren't full-time, so
And
this
it's
will
never
make us
open on
full-time.
commission days. It seems like I never can get there on commission days. So hopefully they will.
It should be open on Thursday.
Yeah, well, that's part of it, so, you know, we have only one employee there, and sometimes we have medical appointments and other things that we have to get to, so we are staggering them hours. A lot of times she puts a sign on the door to say what days she can be there.
Where did we get the job description from?
What is that?
I created it.
I have a question on the job description, where it says required certifications and licenses, none, but to have the willingness to move forward to become a certified librarian, so is that going to be a requirement of that person that they do move forward?
We could change that to make it a requirement.
Well, it just says, because it falls under the bullet point required certification.
So for a library specialist, they're not required to have that, but I think in the future, if we create a library board and we are going to
Then we
create
have to.
the library to work with the state, we will have to have an actual certified librarian.
Okay.
So that's why Bert wanted me to put that language in there, so that that person could have the option of maybe moving forward and becoming the certified librarian.
Okay.
The trouble with this is there's not very many certified librarians. There's not a lot of people that are, and we aren't getting a surplus of applicants for some of these office jobs, where other jobs we're getting surpluses of applicants. You know, there's certain jobs we put out, we get 15, 18 applicants.
We talked about all of this in detail when we went with our own library.
Yep.
So here we are, and we'll deal with it.
How extensive is it to become a certified librarian? Is it?
It's college course, you know, it's a college education, but it's what we were looking at, and like Patsy's referring to when we took this back, is we were talking about going from, 16 hours a week to something bigger for the county, and this is part of them steps, is, we're stepping up the hours of the library considerably.
Do we have anybody that's applied for this position yet?
We gotta approve the job description, then we'll,
Position now, so.
and then we'll advertise and we'll see what we get.
All right, now, I'll make the motion that we approve the job description, for the full-time position. for the Lander County Library Specialist.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's been made and approved, so. We're going to
Number 10.
number 10.
Well, number 9, we're just,
Yeah, I would ask that we table number 9. It's been brought to our attention that this says for oral bid, and our resolution does not say for oral. We need to make a correction on our resolution and on the agenda as well for it to, say written/oral.
Okay, we'll table number 9. Let's go to number 10. Commissioner discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove a letter to Amtrak official asking request a stop in Battle Mountain. If approved, authorized chair to sign.
So I asked for this to be on. I had a meeting with Amtrak the other day, and it's the first true productive meeting I've had with possibly getting a stop here. The bad news is they said, don't get your hopes up. It's a 5 to 7 year process. But that we knocked on the right door.
But didn't we start 5 or 7 years ago?
Never knocked on Amtrak's door apparently. So it all starts with an official ask, and that is the term that they said needs to be put on the letters. This is an official ask of our county commission to Amtrak, and that starts the conversations. I got to thank Chris Porter because he's the one who tracked down the gentleman from Amtrak and got the meeting. The gentleman we spoke with on Amtrak was very frank and very to the point. He said, this is the order and this is the process it takes. He doesn't see a big problem with the stop, but that they aren't super concerned about getting to us, and it will be 5 to 7 years. But that's what it is, standard across the board for everybody, that we just get no special treatment because we've been jumping up and down for a few years.
So how come the
it starts
letter
here.
isn't in here?
Well, because I need an approval to get an
Oh,
official
come
ask.
on, oh, come on.
No, I actually just didn't have time to write a letter, an official ask letter yet. I had this meeting just prior to us making this agenda, and I haven't sat down and wrote an official ask, but he said it can be as simple as 2 sentences. He said this is something very basic, but if they don't have it, that they won't even consider opening the door. And hopefully after this, we can get him to show up to one of these meetings and speak to this, because really good gentleman that doesn't cut any corners, just says it how it is.
Okay, so we don't really have to make a case, we just have to highlight it, basically, of what kind of situation we're in and why we need their help.
He said it doesn't even have to be that. He said all we're doing is just officially asking them to make a stop in Battle Mountain. That the logistics of it and the stops and making sure it works with UP and all that is all what they do in-house. We don't do any of that or even suggest that. Is all we do is say, hey, we want the train to stop here.
Sounds like we're applying for an advisory board. Jeez, that simple. Okay.
I'll make the motion that we do a letter to Amtrak for an official ask requesting for a stop in Battle Mountain. And authorize the chair to sign.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I do have one public comment. And as a domestic violence advocate in Battle Mountain, I think adding a stop here is critical to getting the victims out. A lot of times we have to put them in a room or up for a week or 2 until they can find transportation to get them to the train, airport, or a bus stop. Sometimes as far as Reno and Salt Lake City. If we had this option, it would be so much more convenient for the victims, as they do not want to be here any longer than they have to be when they are trying to get out or get home. Thank you for taking this into consideration.
Wow.
So that is just one more point, but
Could we backdate our letter a couple years?
yes, like I said, the interesting part about the letter is it's not what everybody thinks the letter is going to be. It is as simple as this is an official ask stopping you to have Amtrak stop here in Battle Mountain.
Here is our official request.
Correct.
Got it.
Okay, where are they gonna put the stop at?
That's another thing that we asked him, and they do all that logistics. He said that we can make our request to put it here, put it there, wherever, but that is entirely up to them, and they got to work with UP to see if they want an offshoot to actually pull the train over and park it, or if they, ingress and egress on and off the track. That is all internal, so we don't get to have as much say as we'd like, other than we want them to stop.
I wouldn't want it like Elko's where you gotta go clear down to the river to get to the train stop.
It used to be on Front Street years
Yeah.
ago when we did have the stop.
Well, we had a depot here at one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So we just, yeah, we already did.
Going to 11?
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioners, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove, increase the travel meal rates for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay, Lakin Sullivan for the record. Commissioner Waits actually brought this up and asked that we put this on the agenda to look at increasing our meal rates for reimbursement, which I agree with her. They haven't been increased for a long time, and with the price of food now, I think that it should be looked at. So it's just kind of up to you guys what you want to increase it by. I attached the current rates right now for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Don't we usually follow like, federal tax?
No, we don't, as a matter of fact. And there was it's interesting you would say that, Commissioner, because, and I can't remember how many years ago it was, but I remember we discussed it at NACO, and there was an Attorney General's opinion about how the counties could do that. Washoe and Las Vegas have a separate amount, and that's all part of what they call the GSA, the Government Services Administration. Now, I did make a couple of calls around to see what the counties were doing, because I don't have any personal input anymore with them, and Humboldt and Elko both have done the GSA. We brought that up and nobody wanted to do anything years ago. We just left it at what it was. But if you go on gsa.gov, it will tell you exactly. And if our employees are in Las Vegas, they will get the Las Vegas amount, actually. And then they even say how much for the day of travel, down and back. They get 75% of a certain amount. So actually, I think the amount for us was, if I looked, I think it was 13, 15, and 26. And then they allow an additional 5 for incidental. So 59 was the per diem, basically, for the other counties, because they only name Las Vegas and Washoe. But anytime our employees travel out of state, it will again give them the proper. So my recommendation would be that we go with the GSA.
And what
So
were
that-
their amounts for the GSA? They were the 13, 15, and 26?
13, 15, and 26.
I mean, you gotta look at, because that's gonna be the point, it's a lot dependent upon where you are traveling.
Right.
You know, you go try to eat in Vegas versus eating in Lander County.
Well, and that's why. Then,
Right.
I said, this is our local, and if we go local, if we go, around the small counties, it will stay at that.
And then not to mention, just with the price of inflation, it's like everything is gonna.
Well, and
you know.
hopefully they're
So
up
Patsy,
on.
you're saying if we go with the GSA, then for accounts payable purposes, we'd have to, if someone goes to Vegas for a conference, we'd have to make sure that they were putting in for the Vegas mill rates. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you would simply go on gsa.gov and fill in where are you from, where are you going, and it will give you all the information.
Okay. So the person traveling, it would be up to them to do that and then still submit their reimbursement.
Maybe they could do that, you could do that. I mean,
Well, because right now we provide this form
Right,
to all the
but
departments with the set rates.
we'd have to check to see what other
Well, I
kind
don't
of,
understand why they have to do that. Why don't we just set the rates at 13, 15, and 26, because that's what they are, right?
and the additional 5.
And the additional 5 for incidental.
Yeah.
Yes,
And what
that
is-
I understand, but she was saying if they travel to one of the bigger areas, we would use their rates. So then we would be trying to figure
Yeah,
out.
and GSA would fill that in. So it may be something that we have to fill in when it comes back. I don't know how the other
I don't
counties
think it's
do
more
it.
complicated. I mean,
But we could certainly check into it. I mean, whether,
We can do it, I just need to understand
who does,
how it
yeah, who
works.
does the form is the question.
Yeah, cause I don't know if
This
we leave
form,
this
this one right here, the individual that's traveling, it does this form. We don't do it for them. They are required to fill this out.
No,
and
I
get it
know
back.
that,
Yeah.
but I don't know if we use GSA, how we do that, whether we let them do it. I mean, we could check with one of the counties that does it and just see the simplest way to do it.
Cause she's saying we'd have the 13, 15, and 26 on
For
here
local,
for here,
yes.
but if they, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be Reno or Vegas for our conference.
Right, and so they'd be
So-
allowed more.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, this
We'd have to
form might be
change-
a mute point, because I don't know about anyone else, but
I
we
don't
always
either,
travel
but
to the
it
bigger
can't be
areas
that
for
complicated
conferences.
to see what they
Right.
do in the other
So I'm
counties.
just wondering if we need this form, if we go the GSA route, or if they have to start going online to fill it out and figure out what they need to get reimbursed for.
I didn't see a form, I only saw how they did it. Do you have access now? Just hit gsa.gov.
Okay.
I was just
And-
gonna add, Lander County School District and Humboldt County School District, Lori and I were just
Is that what
talking.
you do, Amy?
We do that, and we, as the traveler, are obligated
You're
to
responsible.
submit all the paperwork that shows I'm in Las Vegas, it's $96
That's the
instead
way
of
it should be.
56.
I don't
Okay.
think it should be a tax.
Put it on the person traveling.
But you're given a form?
We're given a form, yeah, and then it has the breakdown, and then we just have to go, if we're going to Washoe County, we pull up that information.
So if you were given,
If we're in
because
out of
ours
state.
has the amounts for each mill.
Correct, so
So
if you're
it
in
would just
Lander
be
County, that's what
blank?
it'd be if you guys did something in town, right? But no, it would be blank, and then as
would
the
fill in
traveler,
the-
I would put that I was in Clark County and pull up that form. So you put it on the traveler, so it doesn't fall on Lake, and because I believe it's like $120 in Clark County, it's $95 in Washoe County, because it is more expensive. So you have it.
So,
Okay with
what
that?
I'm getting, like, in this form's gonna, if we go with the GSA, this form's gonna be mute, because no one does this form, we don't do anything here in Lander. This form is to travel out of Lander,
So we-
wherever they're
We
going.
would basically leave the amount for the mills blank, and they just
Blank,
fill that in.
and they would
because
have
we'd
to
still want
attach the GSA amounts.
Cause we do have the mileage,
Yes.
the current state mileage up on the top.
Yes, so if you approve it with doing the GSA, then we would redo this form, leave those amounts blank, and they would have to attach the GSA form for the
To
mill.
show where they were.
Yes,
That's fine.
Yeah.
And then, you guys would, be okay with the incidental expense as well, the
The $5?
$5?
But that's GSA, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
cause currently we don't have that, so.
so you wouldn't be approving anything for any specific amount, you would just be approving that we would, in effective today or whenever, we would start using the GSA.gov
Yeah.
amounts.
Which is easy, I'm on it right now, and it's pretty simple to
Yeah,
utilize.
there's a form that the school uses, which is pretty
Yeah.
laid, I mean, it's pretty simply laid out too, so maybe I can get a copy of that to you, I'll send it to you.
Well, that way we wouldn't have to worry about updating one way or the other
Yes.
either.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
it'll
Yeah.
always be, yeah, that makes sense.
And they're responsible for it.
So on here it shows an MNIE total, is that the total for the whole day? Right, is that what you were looking at,
Well,
Patsy?
they also, the GSA has a set amount for the day you travel and the day you come back.
So that's what I'm saying, are we gonna approve, so it says breakfast is 13, lunch 15, dinner 26, and then incidental 5, and then first and last day of travel 44.25. So you'd also get an additional $44 on top of your meals and
Well, it's
incidental.
whatever they have, they had a percentage or something, so I don't remember what it was, but yeah.
Okay.
What-
That's not the mileage? That doesn't.
No.
No, that has nothing to do with the mileage, yeah, because we're okay with the mileage, we update that every time they come out with it.
The state mileage rate.
It's
we
the
just
per
got
diem that we
And
haven't-
they just increased it on
Yeah.
July 1st.
Does it say an additional 44.25 or just says 44.25 first and last?
No,
Because they're not full
for the
days?
day of travel, you're allowed that
It's an
amount
additional.
only,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, that's right, okay. So it's not additional?
It's not, because the way I'm reading it, the total for the day would be $59,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah, that's fine,
okay.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
Do we have a
Okay.
motion to approve?
I will
all
make a
yours,
motion,
Yeah, yeah.
I will make a motion that, we increase our, per diem to follow the GSA, Government Services Administration rates,
I'll second the motion.
effective today.
Okay.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to number 13, correspondence. Reports future agenda items.
I have your letter, Miss Patsy.
Huh? You have
It'll
something
be-
on 13?
No, I have your letter, I said. It'll be here in just a minute.
You have my letter, I love it. Okay, on 13, actually, there's a couple in there, and one of them, if you folks took a look at it, was a request to be on our agenda. But we didn't put it on the agenda, they put it under correspondence, which is fine, but I didn't want you to miss it. It was the invitation to the 30th anniversary dinner celebration of the Rural Nevada Development Corporation, which is being held in Ely on July 25th. So that was one. And the other one was our response to Lockheed and McFarland, their term of contract. Did you see that?
Well, that they were asking to be out of it because they're retiring.
So
He's
retiring.
retiring.
So did we respond to them? Okay, well, it's in our correspondence.
No, they're just advising
We're
us
in the
that,
process of getting a new contract in place to replace that.
I thought it was a request to get out of their
they were
contract.
just advising us.
Okay, well, anyway, that was important too. And that's some of my main ones under correspondence.
Does anybody have anything in particular they want on the Austin meeting? That is the 28th.
Do you have anything you wanted on there?
I gave him a couple before. Is there anything?
Yes,
new?
I have them. I just wasn't sure if anybody else, because I know.
You know,
that
we might want to, I don't know if we want to put it as an agenda item, but I know they're interested to know an update on the courts, the tennis courts. So maybe we can just have an update from our
You bet. I think that we're putting AM Engineering on there for an update for the town boundary
Right.
alignment. We will have an update on where the court is, and hopefully there's actually progress taking place by then. And
well, if Public Works comes down to give us an update on all, because there's so much going on right now.
Yep.
That, and then, of course, the pool, I think it would be great
oh yes,
if we had an update on the pool, because local people have no idea what we've just spent and all the improvements that we've just put into that pool.
yes.
And
So
I think that would really be important.
yep. I guess for the correspondence side of this, there will be hopefully by then also some PR that's coming out for things exactly like that. Some of the just some community type of outreach from the county, which is something that I'm not so good at and I need to improve on, is letting the county know what we're spending our money on, what we have spent our money on, and what we're going to be spending our money on, and some of these projects and beautification things that we've done throughout both ends of the county. So there's gonna be some a compilation of all this stuff, and then a public outreach to make sure that everybody is getting the facts. And then they can question too, you know, I wanna make sure that people have every agenda item and every agenda at their fingertips, so they can be well aware of what's coming and what's going. So we'll include that in part of the Austin update, and then we'll bring that back on the following meeting here in Battle Mountain, and it will be part of my update as to what has and hasn't happened. It's a lot of really good things happening in our community on a lot of different levels, and we're all interconnected.
So how are we doing on the realignment project? Are we on track or?
So we can put
behind
that down
schedule?
as a future agenda item, but I think that the 28th in Austin, I think they're gonna lay it out for us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the only reason I brought up Austin is because sometimes we forget that we're headed up there. So if there's anything that you guys are thinking, hey, that's a good thing that we need to discuss for Austin or Kingston or anything on the southern half of the county, The 28th is the meeting to reach out to me to put that on.
Are you have public comments?
Okay, yes, so, JR, will you open public comment if we're done on 13?
Okay. Do we have public comment on item 13?
I didn't have public comment for the 4th of July, and I've received lots of compliments on it. It was a great time here. I didn't have anybody say anything different, so it went very well. And next year we're doing a little different, where we don't have people fighting over spots. We're gonna have grids, done ahead of time. And so, I appreciate all the help. It went off very well. So thanks to everybody in the, commission and the taxpayers that helped pay for it, because it really did turn out very, very well, so. Thank you. Cause yeah, it went.
Good things too.
Yeah, I just received random texts from people. I didn't even know they had my name number, and it was very nice.
There was
So,
a lot of
very
people there.
excited. And thanks for all the help, so.
Any more public comment? I got one thing, I don't know if it's pertinent or not, but like when they're having the 4th of July fireworks, we should make a designated area for the people that wants to do their fireworks thing. So the people that just want to watch the county fireworks is not sitting there with debris falling out of the sky on top of them.
But they're illegal, so can you even
Yeah,
do
you're not
that?
supposed to. That would be. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah. It was interesting to watch, because, we were over, next to that empty area by the, fairgrounds, and they were lighting that grass on fire and watching the adults, run over there and try to stomp it out. They did do a good job, but holy smokes, I don't know how many times they lit that sheetgrass on fire with their fireworks, but the fireworks were very nice, and, you know, I only heard the sirens once, so that's plus.
One more thing is, if anybody is going to Ely, if you could please RSVP or let me know, and we will get you RSVP'd to attend that. Yeah, the regional, yeah. I don't know exactly what the acronym stands for.
NNRDA or whatever.
Yes, yeah, regional.
RNDA.
RNDA, I think it is.
RNDC.
Development Authority?
Yes. So if any of you are going, and you wanna RSVP, let me know, or do it yourself, but that way you know, so they know who's kinda showing up. I don't have
Why
nothing
are you
else.
looking at me? You want me to go?
Just for ideas. It's okay if you don't wanna go, if you have ideas.
I like Ely, so hey.
Well, you'd have to spend the night too.
Yeah.
really.
Go to the new KOA campground. They have the little old wagons, little things you can stay there. It's actually pretty cool.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Do we have a okay, we got a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Uh-oh.
I need you to sign this one, so we can get it over to Amtrak.